Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sabres Edge podcast, brought to you by Nickel City Mafia. I'll be your host for today, Sammy Saucy Mitts, and I'm here with my co-host, Top Shelf Timmy.
Oh, okay. I love that, Sam. I appreciate that.
I figured I'd throw it back to you a little bit since you caught me off guard with the nickname last week, so yeah. Apologies that this is happening on a Wednesday. As it turns out, I had tickets to the game yesterday, so I figured if there was any excuse not to be doing a podcast for the Sabres, it would be that I'm actually at the Sabres game. So, again, sorry that it's moved the day, but it is what it is.
Hey, that's a great excuse to go to any game as much as you can as possible, Sam. I mean, I'm jealous of you. You got the Sabres there. Been talking to some friends about going to a Bruins Sabres game sometime when they come up here, so looking forward to seeing them.
Bruin friends, I'm so sorry for your loss.
I mean, it's tough, but I remind them that, hey, remember Linus Ullmark regressed to his means last year during the playoffs. So just remember that, Bruins fans.
All right. So this week we have played games. We have regular season games that have happened. And that is incredibly exciting for all fans, I'm sure, because it means we're not watching preseason anymore. Because by God, was preseason getting slow. So I think that we should start by just kind of recapping some games, if that works for you. And we already have a question of how was the game. We'll get to that when we get to the third game.
Of course.
So we started off against the Rangers. Did you watch that game?
Yes. So, of course, you have to at least watch the opening night game. And, I mean, I wasn't up to an opening night game as we expected. So, I wasn't really too excited about it. But, we'll go over the results. We'll kind of talk over, what we thought of the games. But overall, Sabres started off slow, and I thought like the Rangers were trying to play like it was a Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals game, blocking all those shots. So that was really something I was surprised with. And even Donnie Meatball said in an interview at WGR that, hey, man, I mean, if they're going to go block shots the first game of the season, best be with them just because a lot of those guys were injured.
I thought that the Rangers game was interesting. I thought for the first game of the season, I thought we came out far too slow. It didn't have that sort of jump that you'd hope for. And you talked about in the preseason that you had wished that our team had played more games as a team. And I argued against you, saying that was not, or that wasn't too important to me. After seeing the way we got off to the season, maybe I agree a little bit more with you that it could have perhaps been done better, and we maybe could have used a few more games. But I don't think that's really going to be and I don't really think that will be what ends up sinking us in the end if we do end up sinking, which I still have hope. But yeah, I thought that game, we just kind of looked sloppy. I don't think that there was really too much of a takeaway other than it was just like, go next, get more in sorts and do it better next time. But yeah, that was an unfortunate way to start your season, and at home, not ideal.
Yeah, and I think you have to take into account, the Rangers have been a pretty, dominant team for the past couple of years. They got offense, they got defense, and then they have possibly the best goaltender in the NHL right now back there as well, in Shesterkin. So, they came out there. They came out as the vets that they are. So I wasn't too surprised at the results. The 5-1, I was a little surprised. That's a little bit too many goals to give up in a game for the Sabres. But like you said, I think it was a little bit of rust. And you know what? Season's 82 games long, so I'm not going to be not too worried about it after that. So, like you said, not too many takeaways. I think, the second game is the one where we can take more takeaways from the team. Just because I don't even think no one really stood out in that game at all in the Rangers game. And even like the Rangers too, like they just played an all well-rounded game, whereas the Sabres, I don't think a single player even showed up at all.
Yeah. I'm definitely not trying to dwell on that game. It happened. They got the rust out of the way, hopefully, and then we move on to the Islanders. that was eventful. I think that like they played well enough where they could have earned a win there. I don't think that they played so well that it was an upset that they didn't get the win. Obviously, you'd like to see the one goal that we get that we challenged come back. Just honestly, on the basis of like, I would like to see our challenges be productive, if nothing else, and that didn't happen. But I thought that the game looked substantially better. Definitely got our footing under us. You still saw the top two lines were kind of invisible. It didn't look as detrimental though. It didn't seem like the just roof was caving in on them. But they didn't really show up. We got more production. We got Benson getting on the board, which I thought was a good way to start the season for him. He gets 2 points. I think it's been quite a while since an 18-year-old has put up a multi-point game. I'm sure this year you're going to see Bedard do it and maybe Benson again, so it won't be too much of a novelty. But it was definitely nice seeing like Benson get on the board and Greenway got some points in Middlestat. Like that line was doing really well. I think that the fourth line though actually did like they were kind of getting caved in during that game, so that was unfortunate. But ultimately, that game was substantially better than the last one. So
yeah, I mean, you saw the team kind of coming together at that point. I really don't. The line that's really sticking out so far this season right now is the second line. They're not really looking productive so far. You know, Cousins doesn't look like himself, and you especially saw it in that game. And having Olofsson on that line between Cousins, Peterka doesn't really help out that well. The first line, I know a lot of people were kind of worried after that game because they weren't producing. There weren't any goals. There weren't any assists. I mean, they were getting their chances, though. They were getting shots on there. They're being productive offensively. So I knew eventually their goals were going to be coming. You know, it's just going to take a while. You're playing the New York Islanders. And the New York Islanders, they play boring hockey. They don't play much offense. It's pure defense. Their goaltender, also, I would put them in probably like the top 8 goaltenders in the league as well. I mean, they had a pretty solid team. They played in the playoffs last year, but their style of play, you know, counteracts the Sabres. And a lot of people are reacting to about the 1-3-1 defense that the Sabres are trying to break through right now. And both the Rangers and the Islanders were playing that once they got a lead in the game too. So, you know, like I said, I think it's just another way of saying, you know, that's another veteran team. The problem is the Islanders are pure defense, and it's just a pain. I mean, I hate watching Islanders games. They're absolutely boring. I mean, I don't know why people in Long Island even get excited for Islanders hockey. It is literally like watching paint dry on the wall when they play hockey. So, I mean, good for your Islanders. You got the win, but, you know, like Don Granado said, you know, I kind of like offense. But the one thing I do have to mention, so this was Jordan Greenway's coming out game. And I think everyone, if you tuned in, I kind of harped on Jordan Greenway and said, I don't even know why he's on this roster, and I absolutely think he's terrible. Well, I'm ready to eat some crow. I mean, he's looking good. I mean, that third line was the most productive line in that game. Greenway getting a goal, Middlestat getting a goal, and you said Benson getting 2 points as well. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that our third line was actually our best line through 3 games so far. So, I mean, it's nice to see that. See our third line producing, but our top line, you know, like I said, they're got their chances. I think it's just be a matter of time before, you know, the Sabres get up and revving up after that.
Yeah, I really like your point about the Islanders just kind of being like a staunch defense. Like, it is terrible to play against them. And on top of that, you said that Sorokin, one of the top 8 goalies. I honestly, I'd have him top 3. Like, that the combination of like the defense and then Sorokin behind that defense, it's painful to watch. I'm shocked we got to 2 goals.
Yeah.
It's and I think that's a real testament to how like good that line has looked, that they managed to put up 2 goals against the Islanders. That Benson Middlestat Greenway line has just looked great.
Yeah.
But anyway, that
actually, is it okay if I go over one more thing?
No,
did you think that third goal? I thought he was going to be. Well, I guess you can't really challenge a high stick because every goal is reviewed.
Right.
I was almost convinced that was a high stick
I
over
I don't think
an
they
offsides.
I don't think they showed enough.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell from the angles that they were showing. So it could have been. I did not see enough to have an opinion either way. My like Homer instincts are like, of course it's a high stick. It's above his
yeah.
shoulders. The guy's like really short though. Was it Cizikas, I think?
I think it was Cizikas. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like I don't know 5'6" or whatever. What the
Yeah, so like yeah, his stick's pointed up, but like, his shoulders below the crossbar or whatever, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Again, it's too hard for me to tell. I mean, we didn't get a great angle on the broadcast, I didn't think. Or I wasn't paying attention when they showed the angle. But
yeah.
I do think that I don't understand the offsides rule if that isn't offsides. How they like he was in the zone and then kind of like correct. I don't get it.
It's like the catch rule in football. No one knows what a catch is. No one knows what offsides is.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
he did not make a football move upon entering the zone, so I don't
That's
know
right.
how that wasn't offsides. But anyway, that brings us to the third game, and that was against the Tampa Bay Lightning yesterday. I was there, and then to answer a question that came up a little bit ago from Tom, it was awesome. It is so great to be back in the arena. I just like more than anything, I've missed hockey, man. I've missed like not preseason, not like your prospects challenge. I've missed real NHL hockey, and it's so exciting to just be back in the arena. And on top of that, we got the win, our first of the season. So that's exciting as well. How do you think
Yeah.
that they played that game?
I mean, the team came off strong in the first two periods. I mean, they came out there flying in the first game. And, like I think even like Sam Violanti said in the chat, played hard for the first two periods, and they kind of sat on a 1-goal lead on the third, in which, you don't want to see that from this team just because they're not known to be the best defensively, and you're better known to be offensive. Plus, you're playing Johansson, where it's just like, I mean, he's an AHL goaltender. He used to be on this franchise. You know what he's all about. Just keep shooting. Just keep shooting. Get goals on net. Get pucks on net. Get more goals. So to kind of see that and get that dragged into overtime, and giving Tampa Bay a point stinks to see that. But like you said, it's good to see. It's good to see finally get a win. I know a lot of people were worrying after an 0-2 start, but remember, people, this isn't football. We got 82 games. Going down 2-0 or 0-2 isn't that bad compared to football. So we got a lot of time left in this season. We got a lot to grow. But I do have to ask you, Sam. I know WGR has been talking about the 2-foot nachos, the hot dogs. Did you get any of the specialty meals that you got at the game? Did you eat anything at all there?
I didn't eat at the game. We ate beforehand. Jim's Steakout.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you get a stinger there, or what'd you get?
I got a Philly.
Oh, okay. All right, nice.
But anyway, I'm going to actually take this game in a different direction from you because I thought that Johansson played well.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, like, I've seen enough of Johansson, obviously, having him been on the team before. And I saw his last game, I think it was, where he was really bad. But coming into this game, like, he played well. I don't know, like, which of our two goals, or maybe the overtime one, like, wasn't great. I don't know which of our two regular time goals that you would look at and be like, if it's a different goalie in net, it's easily saved. Like,
Yeah.
the one to Skinner, that was a great pass by Power. And honestly, it's embarrassing. I don't really remember. Oh, Gergenson's goal. That was a snipe. Yeah.
It's hard to remember when Gergensen scores, to be honest.
Yeah. Not exactly our most outstanding goal scorer, but that was a great shot. I don't think you could have placed it better, and it came off with speed. Like, what are you gonna do if you're Johansson or Vasilevsky, right? Like, so I'm gonna say that. Like, yeah, well, I do agree putting on the offense against that goalie in general isn't a bad idea. He was having himself a good game. And so for that reason, I actually really, and I'll explain like more later, but I really liked the fact that we turtled. It may sound stupid because this is a team that's entirely built on offense, right? But it was like 10 minutes left, and uh, Samuelson was hurt, so you're down to 5 defense, and it looked like it was a conscious decision made that the defense were no longer allowed to like skate out of the zone. So what we ended up seeing was a lot more punting, and so like the defense would get in our zone and we just kind of like lob it out, and occasionally we'd get some of the offensive players actually like effectively forechecking and like kind of bringing it into the other zone. But what I liked out of that approach is that we pretty effectively for a period played defense. We showed that we could play a tight game without just having to like blow up the score sheet. Like it wasn't a tight 6-5 game. It was a 2-1 game. And we like made a conscious decision to hunker down because maybe we were having like we were short benched with our defense, and so we weren't trying to tire them out. And for the most part, it was effective. And if we can play like sound defensive games, if we can play these tight games, and hopefully we've gotten the letting a goal in with 7 seconds out of our system, and that won't happen in the next time that we make a conscious decision to try and play a tight game, I really enjoy, or like I'm really just pleased with the fact that we showed that we could do it to some extent. Obviously, the goal goes in at the end, and that everyone in the arena is disappointed. The collective sigh that happened from everyone in the arena, it was so funny. I mean, now I can look back and say it was so funny because we won, but like it's just like the just let down feeling, the air out of the tires. But the actual players on the ice were not affected because they came out into overtime and they dominated. I'm not sure that they gave up possession once, and there were points where it really seemed like they would, but it was just aggressive, like hustling to pucks, and we put that away. And again, like I'm happy with the team's ability to play a close game, like it's like we're not going to be able to just score our way out of all of our problems throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me though is you're playing with young goaltenders, and these goaltenders have a track record of letting in a lot of goals. And notwithstanding notwithstanding throughout the whole entire game too. So that's kind of where I have to harp on. You got to play your style of game, which is obviously an offensive game. So, the biggest thing too is you don't want to keep on going to overtime. That's going to be tiring out your players. You're going to get a lot of time on the ice too. And, in the past years, the Sabres had a tendency to do that, to take games into overtime, giving the other team a point, and then hopefully coming out with 2. I'd rather just see them winning in regulation. Get as many goals as possible. You should be if I would be fine if the team was sitting on like a 3-1 lead or or 2-0 lead in the third period. But a lot of people say 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead in sports. But honestly, I agree with you that it's nice to see them play defense, but also you don't want to get away from your game too much, because then like what happened last night is once the second period ended, I believe the shots were like 20-9 is what I looked at. Halfway through the third period, the Lightning ended up catching up to the Sabres on shots, which isn't a good thing to see. That means they're getting a lot of pucks on the net. The Sabres should still maintain that they are an offensive team. They are focused offensively, and maintain that lead, because I believe when did the Lightning score their first goal? At the beginning or at the end of the second period, right?
Yeah, I think near the end of the second.
So they scored it towards the end of the second period, and that should kind of remind them, hey, like, you gotta still put up shots on the net and try to get a goal again, and and not kind of step back, because that's not their style of play, that's not their strength. There's going to be games, if UPL comes in, or Comrie, or even Levi, still he's letting a couple, kind of high scoring games, you got to just get that lead for him so he feels a little bit more comfortable and not have everything on his shoulders at that time. And so that's kind of my mindset, once you got your foot on their throat, just keep it on there and keep on putting on shots on net and getting as much goals as possible.
To some extent, I agree with you, but also, like, I don't think when they scored when Tampa scored their first goal in the second period that we had let our foot off the gas at that point. I thought we were dominating them through the second period, first and second period. I thought that we were just absolutely killing them. Obviously, we let a lot of shots against in the third, but I didn't feel like too many of them were quality shots. It felt like it was like well defended. We weren't letting too much on the inside, and we were moving guys out of the way who were in front of the net, and they weren't getting quality rebound chances. It like definitely slowed it down, and they were just like peppering shots. But I think that's well within Levi's ability to maintain that. Obviously, at the end, you let in that was a quality chance. There was a guy who wasn't cleared from the front of the net, and he ends up scoring the goal. But we only really turtled after we were down a player, and I think that's kind of just an adversity thing. We have a lead. We have shorter bench, and you're just trying to preserve the lead. I know it's only one goal in for our team, who's not notoriously great at defense. That can be a little scary, but I think they did well. I earnestly think that they're showing against the Lightning, while they were playing defense, was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see that against a veteran team, but how many teams are going to sustain that against? I'm not too sure. I mean, like I said, you want to play to your strengths, and I guess kind of, coming off that Matthias Samuelsson injury, are we kind of worried that this is a common thing for Samuelsson? I mean, last year he was injured a lot of the time too, and he was kind of the reason why. I think there was a statistics that the games he played, Sabres won the majority of the games. They had a winning record, and when he was out, they had a losing record. So. Is that something the Sabres should be worried about? Is this guy an injury-prone player?
It's hard to tell. I think he's been injured in every season that he's played so far.
Yeah.
Even dating back to when he first showed up and played a part season just because he was in the AHL during the start of it. I think he then got injured before the season ended. So maybe there's something to that, and maybe I don't know what you do. I'm not a sports biologist. I'm not able to diagnose and tell you what you should do to strengthen yourself to be able to withstand 82 games. It seems like this specific one, they said it was day to day, so hopefully he'll be back against our next opponent or the game after that.
Yeah, we have Calgary, and then we have the Islanders again.
Yeah. Oh boy, can't wait to see the Islanders again. Yeah. Although they'll be in our home arena this time, so.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that'll sway things. Maybe.
I just want to call up the chat right now. What are you guys thinking? I mean, I haven't seen any movement. I don't know if my computer's frozen, but let's hear some thoughts. Let's hear some takes. Let's get going, guys. I mean, what the heck? We need your help here.
With us. They must be nodding their heads along yeah.
We're the hockey experts here. I don't think so, guys. Help us out here. No, but I guess, kind of going into the lines, what kind of stuck out to you player-wise or line-wise in that game?
In the Lightning game?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought that this was Benson's weakest game. I just want to start. I thought Benson has been great this week. I thought that was Benson's weakest game. I think that he still has the tenacity and the forechecking and just the instincts that make him who he is, and I don't think that that'll go away anytime soon.
Yeah.
But the issue that you expected to see with an 18-year-old showed up with the 18-year-old, in that he was clearly being out-bodied. He was losing battles. He was not really checking effectively. Sometimes he would pin someone, but he wasn't really able to move them or get to the puck after making that play, and it just felt like it was too easy for the defenders to just bounce him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was A little discouraging, but honestly, I don't think that it matters too much. He's 18. We'll see him grow. We'll see him get stronger. And that's just a facet of his game that we'll see improve naturally. And I think that that's honestly encouraging. I didn't expect him to be so good at it at this age, the forechecking, but he is already. And so I think that when he gets his, once he gets just like more power behind him, once he finally hits puberty, he'll be.
Oh, well, he is growing a beard, so.
I think that he'll be a force to be reckoned with, but I think that his age showed in this game.
Yeah, and I think he was kind of looking a little gassed too at the end of shifts. I mean, he was looking kind of slow towards the end of shifts, and you didn't see him at the end of the game. I think Krebs filled in for him when that third line was out too towards the end. So you can tell like maybe he's being a little bit overplayed at this point. He still needs, like you said, still needs to catch up on his strength as well as speed and stamina as well. So like you said, he's 18 years old. It's his third game in an NHL season. Those are things you expect to see from a young player, unless you're Connor Bedard or Connor McDavid.
Roster-wise, this game we also had a change, though. We saw Tyson Jost in for Victor Olofsson, and I'm okay with that. I don't think that Victor Olofsson had been doing particularly well up to that point. I think that he went into the season, and in the preseason, I think this was apparent. He had more jump on his forecheck, which is something that I had really wanted to see him do. The only issue was it wasn't like he was actually forechecking. He was just kind of getting into the area that you would like to see him get into, and then didn't ever do anything. He wasn't actually applying pressure. It just felt like he was doing enough to just be like, hey, look, guys, I participated on the group project. Can we put my name on it? And I don't think that... Like, if you really watched how he was forechecking, that it was effective. And that's why I'm like, I'm okay with the idea of taking him out of the lineup. Even though we haven't been getting great scoring down the lineup, I think that it's probably beneficial to replace him with someone who can defend in Tyson Jost. And actually, Jost put up a point on the Gergenson's goal, so...
Yeah. I mean, that was a good move as well. What'd you think of Krebs on the second line as well?
I don't know if it's just a lack of playing time together, but that line kind of did nothing. Yeah. I thought they were dull, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, because when they were on the ice, it didn't ever feel like they were getting caved in their own end, but they weren't really producing, so it was just kind of like they were filling time. And I guess, that's what you'd want a fourth line to do.
Yeah.
But for players like Cousins and Peterka, you want to see them producing. So that was a little bit disappointing. But maybe with another game under their belts, they will start to pick up, get some synergy, and end up, finding their offensive groove. Because I think all three of those players individually have what it takes. You got Peterka and Cousins are kind of like line drivers. They skate fast in a direction, and they're effective at that. They get good shots off from doing that. And I think that Krebs is more cerebral. He thinks the game well, and he sees seams in the ice and is able to make good passes. And I think that it could, with a very functional version of that line, we could see Peyton Krebs laying up passes for breakaways to Peterka and Cousins very frequently, creating a lot of transitional play. It's just that's not what happened during their first game together, and I hope that there's more to that line. Otherwise, I think I'm okay to see it get broken up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they really didn't stick out at all, and I don't know if it's a matter of them trying to gel, give them a couple of games. But the second line in general has just kind of been like a black hole on the team. You really don't see too much from them.
Yeah.
I believe I think they've given up the most goals against too on that line as well. So, that didn't help when you had Olofsson. And like you mentioned, I'm fine with not ever seeing Olofsson on the ice again, to be totally honest with you. I mean, if you're not willing to back check, you're not willing to, help out defensively or set up your teammates, then you really shouldn't be on this team anymore. try to find him a spot on a team somewhere else who needs some help on the power play, because the Sabres don't really need that. Well, power play does need some help, but I don't think we're really looking for that type of player. And Jost on the fourth line too, like you said, he kind of had more of like a pep in his step when it came to the ice time. Like you see him, back checking, forechecking, helping out in the corners, and helping out Gergitsen, or setting up Gergitsen on his goal as well. So it was kind of nice to see that. That's what you expect out of a veteran guy like that. He was a high first round pick. He expected to be.
Is he even a veteran? Isn't he like 25?
I mean, he's been in the league for, I think, 5 years, right? I mean, I think he's more veteran than any of the players that we have on our team, except for Okposo and Gergitsen. But for that age, he's been around for a while, and I know he's kind of labeled as a bust as a first round pick. But if you can find your niche as a fourth liner, helping out, that definitely is a good sign to see. But I was listening. I believe it was on Thursday to WGR, and they had Don Granato on there, and he kind of mentioned, breaking up the first line and kind of moving Tuck around. Do you think it would be a good idea to move Tuck down to the second line and kind of promote somebody else on the first?
I think that Tuck played really well in his time with Cousins last year. I thought that line looked really good together. It's very aggressive and very just like running crash kind of style, because they're both kind of play a similar way. It's kind of the same as Peterka as well, so I don't think that you'd want like 3 of those guys in the same line. So maybe you'd move a Peterka up to the first line. Another issue just becomes, I don't know who you replace who you put up onto the first line. So I'm kind of content with how it is right now. I'd play a few more games, see if they can get something to click. We saw the first line, they got a goal, got on the board. Jeff Skinner with his steamed ham, and I like that's it's a good stepping stone. Right now, we can maybe see a little bit more offense be created. We have our next games against a team that isn't necessarily defensively sound, and so maybe you just keep it running. See if we can get Thompson on the board next. That would be nice to see, because he's had like a few good games now. I think that his game against the Islanders, even though he never scored, I thought he started towards the end producing more just chances. And I thought that this game, he had his fair share of chances. He had one that kind of handcuffed him in the feet, but it was a good pass across. It kind of got the goalie moving. And if he had released it earlier, that definitely would have been a goal. It just kind of was unfortunately a little bit too much in his feet. It is what it is. But I think that it'll come. He'll get his soon enough. And I think that just with the scoring maybe a little bit on its way, I don't think that you want to change anything up too soon. I don't really want to see too many roster adjustments before we've seen maybe what they look like in their groove.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, Cousins and Tuck kind of play that run and gun style where they get deep in the corners and you're kind of out there. It doesn't look like they're setting up for a play at all. They're kind of just chasing the puck, but obviously they know what they're doing out there.
They're very good at that.
Yeah. So, I mean, to have 2 of those guys on the same line would be pretty tough. But I know, like you said, you kind of want to see when your first line starts producing. Do you really want to break that up? Give it the time to do that. And I also saw someone mentioning, is it time to move Benson up on the line? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't even want to break up that third line.
Yeah, I think that third line's looked too good.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, you don't want to give him too much ice time, because he can't be handling that much time on the ice, because he's young, he's not strong enough. And like we mentioned, he was kind of getting at the end of the game, you could tell he was gassed. He couldn't stay out on the ice long enough. So, kind of keep Benson where he is. And, even I don't know how close Savoy is coming back to it all, but when he's ready to come back, maybe switch those guys in and out of the lineup just to give him some rest, So, I mean, I think would be the best bet, at least if I was the coach of the team.
When Savoy comes back, this is an interesting one, because you have to make a roster decision once Savoy's back.
Yeah.
We currently are maxed out of our roster spots. So who, if at all, if you're replacing someone, who do you send away? Who do you maybe trade?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, we're still rolling with the 3 goaltenders right now, and I definitely don't like seeing that. And none of them have had time to play at all either. So it's kind of tough to, say to trade away one of those guys. Obviously, the team still believes in UPL, but they're too unsure. So that's why they keep Comrie around. I don't know if anyone's going to take Olofsson, to be totally honest. But if you're going to be, I guess you would see from the next 3 home games, if Olofsson's going to be a scratch for the next 3 games, I would just cut him and just see if he can clear waivers and go play in the AHL, which I don't know. I mean,
I don't think he would.
I mean,
someone would take a flyer on him.
You think so? I mean,
he's a 30-goal scorer. Like,
yeah,
he wasn't even playing on power play 1 last year.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing. I think his power play 1 too in the first 2 games, I believe, as well. Was he?
I don't.
No. They're playing. They literally played the top line in Cousins.
The top line in Cousins
and Dahlin. Yeah. So never mind.
That's what it was for most of last year too. Like he wasn't.
Yeah.
Olofsson was putting up 30 goals and not power play 1 time.
Yeah.
Someone will take him. Someone needs a trigger man on the power play somewhere in this league. And honestly, like I think if you shopped enough, you could probably get a 3rd for him.
You think so? A 3rd?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not too sure because
I think that a team that needs scoring, that needs a trigger man on the power play, will actually find value in this guy, and I think that there is value in him. The issue with him for us is you got like just far too many shooters. Almost everyone on this team can serve as a trigger man, and on the second power play you've got right now, JJ Peterka and. Is it Middlestat on the offside or on the other side? And both of them can actually really shoot it. And then our defenseman can shoot as well. I mean, Power's still working on it, but his shot has been effective at times.
Yeah.
But between like Thompson, Skinner, JJ, Mitz, and the defenseman who can shoot, like you really don't need, or at least we don't need, an extra Victor Olofsson.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's the case for every team. There are definitely power plays in the league that could look at Victor Olofsson and be like, if you just play power play 1 minute and we bury you on like a 3rd or 4th line and you see like 6 minutes a night outside of the power play, you are a very effective asset to us. And I think that there's probably at least 1 team that would believe that. And it would be true for them.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of like the offense before, the Sabres process. I mean, under Kruger and even under Housley, he was kind of one of the top guys on the team, and that's kind of why he has that contract right now. So, definitely. I could see like a bottom team who just needs scoring to be like, hey, come play power play, and hopefully their 4th line can withstand having Olofsson on there and being like, okay, we can help. We can handle the defense. Like you can just kind of like, hang out at the blue line. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but like you mentioned, we don't need him anymore. And you even see some of our prospects, like you mentioned, I think it was last episode. And you have Kulik, who's basically almost the same player. He gets his shots off at the circles, and it's just like you really don't need any more of those players. You need kind of someone else on that line, and you got, like I said, you got to give some time to these prospects too are coming up. If you're going to see what Savoy can do, I don't think Savoy is going to stay on the roster. I think he's going to be sent down to WHL, but it'd be nice to see his 9 NHL games too, and then give Benson the rest as well.
Yeah. All right, so that took going through the games took quite a while, but before we move on to who you think your 3 stars were, I would just like to, you brought up Kulik, and I think there's a perfect opportunity to mention that the Amerks are playing right now, I think. But just a little update from them. In the 2 games before what's going on, because I don't have their game up right now, it's our point leaders are exactly who you want to see be the point leaders. We have Ryan Johnson. I almost said Eric. Ryan Johnson, Isak Rosén, and Yuri Kulik, each with 3 points in 2 games. And actually a fun little notable guy, Nikita Novikov, who I wasn't sure what his offensive upside would be. He's currently 2 points in 2 games right now, so it seems like the guys that you would want performing well are doing so. And
Yeah.
that's a good look for the Sabres' future. Definitely something to look forward to. I
Yeah,
think
for
that
sure.
we might see Johnson up this year, and I'm
I
pretty excited
mean,
about
I know our seventh defenseman leaves us nothing to
that.
admire, so I wouldn't mind seeing Ryan Johnson up here, to be totally honest. He was my other guy I was thinking about cutting too, but Olofsson came first.
Yeah, if we need to bring up, or if Samuelson's not prepared to play in the next game, I actually kind of hope that we just scratch Benson or send Benson down and bring up Johnson. And if Benson gets claimed, oh no!
Do you mean
Not Benson?
what I was
Sorry,
about to say?
Bryson.
Bryson.
Sorry, I think I messed this up in the last show as well, where I said Benson instead of Bryson. Their names are far too similar.
Yeah, you're just missing
Yeah.
one different letter.
If I'm talking about defense, it's most likely Bryson.
Yeah, I mean, already given up being like, oh, I don't care if Benson's gone. I mean, I was like, holy crikeys.
For Ryan Johnson, if it can get Johnson on the team, I'm sure we can afford to get rid of him. No, Benson's looked really good.
Yeah.
So anyway, we went over the 3 games so far. Who would you say are your 3 stars of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kind of go scratch for the third line. So my third star is going to be Casey Middlestat. Now, what I kind of want to say about Casey Middlestat is you can tell that his game's matured, especially having Benson on that line. He's not only being productive offensively, you can tell that he is back checking to play defense. And he's also, kind of getting a little bit more physical too. I mean, I remember back a couple of years ago, he used to just skate away from scrums and not help out his teammates. And now you see him in there, and, he's face washing, he's talking trash, and, he's actually sticking up for Benson too. So that's why I'm giving Middlestat. I know he had that goal and he has an assist. I believe he has 2 points so far this season. But it's more of just seeing the way his game is matured. I know it is a contract year for him, and I think if his game still keeps up playing this way, might talk about an extension later down the season. But no, I'm definitely impressed with his game so far. My second star has to go to Jordan Greenway. I mean, he's looked the part. I mean, Sam, you mentioned maybe this change of scenery playing under Granato is going to help him a lot. And it has. You can tell like his game's been rejuvenated. He's no longer injured too, which helps out a lot as well. But the good thing too, not only is he skating with the puck well, getting his offensive chances and scoring, but he's also playing that physical game that the Sabres missed as well for years on this team. So I believe he's like 6, he might be 6'4", 6'6". I forgot what his size is.
I think he's 6'6".
Yeah, so he has a physical presence out there. He's a high second-round pick too as well. And you can tell that, he's out there. He's being a presence for the team, something I didn't expect after watching him last season. So, kudos on him. I think a lot of people besides myself were doubting Greenway. And I'm glad to see that his game's come around and, kind of came and expected what it was for him when he originally was playing the USA hockey program. And then my first star, I mean, like I said, it's a scratch for the third line. It's going to be Benson right now. Yeah. And 2 points for a rookie and setting up assists too. I mean, you can tell that he has a sense for hockey. When he doesn't have the puck, he's getting into opportunities for the puck to get to him. He's setting up other teammates. I believe was it Greenway's goal or Middlestat's goal where he was basically getting knocked off the puck, and he still got that pass off to set up that goal for his line mate. So, the guy's a gamer. At 18 years old, you don't expect that from him, especially at his size and weight. He's been playing pretty well, and he's going to get my first star of the week. Surprising for a rookie to do that at 18 years old. So
yeah, for sure.
Let's hope it keeps on going. Oh, my bad.
All right. So my 3 stars, I actually really like. I kind of agree with you in the sense that line was just fantastic. They're probably the easy shoo-ins. I'm going to go with my third star as Erik Johnson. I think as a new addition to the team, he's looked fantastic. He does just everything right.
Yep.
He's not going to like dazzle you the way that Rasmus Dahlin will. And he's not going to, I don't think he'll put up a ton of points, but he just does things well. He just does everything well. He's a big body back there. He's willing to hit things. And I think he's like we're kind of advertised that like Connor Clifton is going to come in and he's going to hit everything and it's going to be very exciting. I'm not exactly I haven't been counting, but I've noticed more so Eric Johnson hitting than I have Connor Clifton. Maybe it's just because the hits are bigger or more effective, but he's really willing to just lay out the body there. He's sound defensively. It doesn't really feel like he lets up a lot of opportunities. And when he's on the ice, you can honestly just feel like pretty secure in the defense. And so for that reason, and that's something that we haven't had for the last year, we haven't had that level of security. For that reason, I think he's earned himself a star, and just the fact that he's a newcomer to the team makes it all the more earned. And then my second star, I'm going with Zach Benson on this one. Similar reasons to you, obviously. Like, he's just got such a tenacity. He's willing to go into the dirty areas. He's willing to really fight for pucks. Again, I think that he was being a bit outmuscled in the last game, but I still think that doesn't take away just from just how aggressive he is on pucks in the forecheck, and the fact that he's trying to make plays even while being mauled by people 50 pounds heavier than him. He's just not shying away from these moments, these scrums. He's really just been in it and fighting hard every shift. My first star, similar to you again, gotta give it to Jordan Greenway. I think he's been hands down the best player on our team through the first 3 games. I would like to give the spot to Benson just because, he's a rookie, he's 18.
Yeah.
But I think for me, we've had a clear best player. And it's been Jordan Greenway. He's doing everything at a very high level. He's producing points. He's scoring goals. He's forechecking. He's defending. He's hitting things. And on top of that, he's just I think it's kind of funny. He's kind of seemed like just a big brother to Benson out there on the ice.
Yeah.
Which, of the forwards, I'm not sure going into the season that I thought we had a player like that who you could put with Benson and you wouldn't really have to worry about other players roughing up Benson because he's the rookie. And I know you've got some people that'll go to bat for you, like Peyton Krebs or Dylan Cousins or Rasmus Dahlin, but I think it's a little different when you've got Jordan Greenway at 6'6", 231, and he's really been laying out the body. I know that I was kind of stalking the New York Islanders game thread on Reddit during that game, and they hated him 2 periods in. They could not stand his presence, and I think that's exactly the kind of guy that we needed on this team because we really didn't have that much offensive grit. And he's brought that along with the production that we were promised from Granato, along with the rejuvenated defensive game that seemed like it may have been a little bit lost last year in Minnesota and when he came over here. So I think that he's just been fantastic through the first 3 games, and that he is by far our best player through the first 3.
Now, did you expect those to be our 3 stars of the game the first week?
Of course not.
I mean, I kind of expected, Jordan Greenway to be the top star.
Before the game started, I was like, man, I can't wait for Jordan Greenway to show everyone up. You know what this really is a testament to? Don Granato's always right, never doubt him.
I mean, I can't say anything right now. I'm eating my crow right now on Jordan Greenway. Hey, man.
Me too. I was penciling him off the team as of next year, but if he keeps this up for a whole year, we'll be trying to figure out how long we can keep him here, rather than how quickly we can get rid of him. But
yeah, I mean, there's 2 guys that at least for me, Middlestat and Greenway, I wasn't expecting to see after the season. They're already on my top 3 stars. So I'm happy to eat this crow.
Middlestat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was bought into Middlestat last year. I thought he showed well enough, and The thing that he showed kind of at the beginning of last year was that he had rounded out his game well. He
Yeah.
was playing more defensively. He was willing to get into battles. It wasn't perfect, but he had rounded out his game well, kind of like what we saw with Peyton Krebs, where, like,
Mm.
yeah, Peyton Krebs was kind of booked as this offensive player, but he has more dimension to his game, and he's had to kind of adapt it to be able to stay in the NHL, and he did that. I
Yeah.
think that Middlestat did that last year, and then what he showed at the end of the year when he was playing on a higher line was there's more to him. He
Exactly.
can be producing at a high level while also being like pretty sound in the other areas of his game. And that's why, like, after last year, if you had asked me if we should be giving out one of our like early contracts that we do, I would have said that Middlestat was a good option for that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, towards the end of the last season, he's really showed that he's matured a lot. The guy who couldn't do a pull up during the combine, he's definitely added a lot more strength to his game as well, and he's well rounded. So that was a surprise to see that. I've always been a Middlestat guy since I saw him play in the World Juniors, kind of dominating. And I kind of would like, that's kind of the player that we saw towards the end of last season. And I'm hoping this can translate into the third line. But if not, he definitely should get a chance to get up in the top two lines if that ever occurs, just because he is such a force. You can see it even on the second power play. This guy deserves to show off what he has. He was definitely one of the top prospects back when he was, a rookie or even before he was in the NHL. So definitely, I mean, I never doubted giving him a second contract. Now it's kind of like, all right, well, he's going to start earning his second contract.
Now how much do we have to pay him?
Exactly.
That's why I was a little bit on board with the, like, give him the early contract like you're doing with all these other people. Like, Tage gets his contract after 1 year, and now he's being paid $7 million to put up 94 points.
Yeah.
I was a little bit after last year, like, please give Middlestat his contract before he proves that he's actually just good. Like,
Exactly.
Or he proves that it's not a fluke.
That's true.
Yeah, here we are entering the season. No contract for Middlestat, so he might be seeing an opportunity to earn a lot of money.
Yeah, but speaking of contracts, right?
Yeah, there's since we last talked, there has been a big contract dished out, and it's been to Owen Power, and the details of the contract is that it is $8.35 million for 7 years. Which is max because he actually still has a year left on his contract.
Mm-hmm. What? I mean, the term surprised me. And the numbers didn't surprise, like the amount didn't surprise me, but the term 7 years. I mean, we have him for 8 more years. I was not expecting him to sign that long term of a deal. I was expecting, like we mentioned before, a Darlene, bridge deal for like 3-4 years. But to see him sign that 8-year deal, I was always, and I was kind of, I guess it's kind of his demeanor too. Like, I was never sure if he was fully bought into the Sabres either. He's really kind of like a chill, shows no emotion type of guy. And even like, I mean, not that there's anything bad about his game, but his game almost plays that too as well. You're just kind of like, is this guy fully bought into being a Sabre? Is he not? Like, I know a lot of people were concerned that he returned back to Michigan after he got drafted first overall. But to see that he wants to be here for 8 more years is amazing. So, good on Kevin Adams, too. I mean, we have this guy for 8 years at $8.75 million a year. I mean, that's going to be a steal in a couple of years. At least that's what we're expecting. So I'm kind of excited for that. So what are you thinking on that contract?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the contract. I think that in just like a few short years, he will be worth way more than that contract. You all good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. But yeah, I think that the contract is going to look like a steal in a few years. Obviously, like, you're looking at a 20-year-old guy, and you're really projecting, because I don't think that last year he played at an $8.35 million level. So it's obviously doing a little bit of projecting, but I think that, like, he's going to live up to that. He had 35 points last year, and that was his 19-year-old year, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's 20 now, right?
Yep.
So yeah, he's currently 20. So he would have been 19, maybe turned 20 in the middle of the season. And he put up 35 points in the NHL. Like that's hard to do. His defense wasn't great, admittedly, and there's like room to grow there. But I think that's kind of, as a defenseman, the part of your game that you round out as you like grow and mature. He'll learn how to play at like how to defend at the highest level. Like you had said last week, you want him to see him use his body more. Like that's something that just I think comes with time. I think that there are effective ways to kill plays that don't require you to like just be checking things, but it would be nice if he can add that to his game, and if he can really just shore up his own end. I think he will quickly become worth what the contract is. The tone for this contract was like set by Jake Sanderson.
Yeah.
And his contract, he got like $8 million for 8 years, maybe 8.05. That 05 is weird, but he got effectively $8 million for 8 years, and I think a lot of people were looking at that contract, or a lot of Sens fans on Twitter. Which, by the way, like the Twitterverse of like hockey fans does not represent the whole fan base, and I know that. So, but as I make this statement, just know that I'm not looking at all of you Sens fans, but they were after we signed Dahlin, they were like, oh yeah, like you guys got swindled compared to what we got for Sanderson. And like that was absurd to me, because I'm like, Sanderson would make sense as a comparable for power. Mm-hmm. But to compare him to Dahlin, they are completely different players. Dahlin is just straight up better in all aspects of the game. And so that was a weird comparison that was coming out the woodwork. But now that we have a Owen Power contract that's actually in a similar like term in AAV to Sanderson, I kind of like the comparison, and I think that us paying a little bit more for Power makes perfect sense, because Sanderson had 32 points last year in 2 less games than Power had. But, you know, similar points. I think Sanderson was probably a little bit better defensively. But Sanderson did that in his 20-year-old year, so it's the year that Power is going into. If we get through this year and Power puts up a little bit more points and is a little bit more defensively sound than he was last year, I think we'll be looking at those comparisons maybe die down a bit, which would be nice, because I don't know. I feel like what Power is doing has the chance to be much more impressive, or what I think what his upside has a chance to be much more impressive than Sanderson.
Yeah.
So I like this move for us.
Yeah, I think Senator fans are just delusional. I mean, they missed out on 2 top picks. I mean, Dahlin is obviously leaps and bounds a better defenseman than Sanderson will ever be. I mean, he has a higher ceiling. He still has time to grow with Dahlin. The fact that they were trying to compare his contract to Dahlin's contract is just ridiculous. I mean, all right, just be jealous. All right, Senators. I mean, really. When it comes to Power, though, like I said, I think it is comparable. But I do think, like you mentioned, you know, Power definitely has a higher ceiling. Once he learns to use his body more defensively, be a little bit more physical, and get his shot stronger, I mean, we could have basically 2 1A and 1B defensemen on our top 2 lines. And that's kind of what that contract does. It's almost like if he gets to the point where he's a Norris, where we have 2 Norris contending defensemen on this team, I mean, heck, we just got a deal for Owen Power. I mean, we're paying $19 million between the 2, but it's a $19 million well spent. And then, you know, they'll figure out what's going to happen after that 8-year deal. Well, 7-year deal, but 8-year deal is over with. But no, I think that's good for the team.
Yeah. I agree with the cap assessment there. I think having 2 number 1 overall picks locked up long term for what averages out to be less than $10 million per is going to only be helpful. Exactly. I know like that there might be a little bit of cap problems a little bit down the road, but I don't think that you look at this and regret it for even a second.
Exactly. That's a future Sabres problem. Right now, I mean, be happy. I mean, what's the problem with the Sabre with Buffalo right now is that it's not really a destination, and when you see, it's assigned to a league that when you're having guys sign long term here, guys with a lot of potential, I mean that's going to attract more free agents. So No, it's good for the future of the Sabres. And yeah, no, I'm excited. I mean, now we have everything locked in. Now we got to get a couple more guys locked in as well. So
Yeah.
looking forward to see what's going to go on throughout the season.
I like your point about like being a destination. I thought something that was really cool throughout the start of this year is like Craig Anderson, who has been a career Ottawa guy, played was it 2 years? Did he play 2 years here? Or is it only the one?
No, he played 2 years for the Sabres, yeah.
Yeah, so he plays 2 years at the very end of his career. And he's been sticking around in Buffalo. He doesn't even have a coaching job officially, but he's just been around. And he was at the game yesterday, and he like opened up he was the one hitting the drum at the start of the game while they were doing their walkout. And so I think that speaks just volumes to what's going on in the locker room. This guy who, if you had asked me, is probably representative of Ottawa, has chosen to stick around here. That's where he's, choosing to mingle, and I assume that the culmination of this is that he ends up with a coaching job, but this is a place that he wants to be even after the fact. That just shows to me that whatever's going on in the locker room is just it's great, and it seems like it's a little bit contagious because you don't.
Yeah.
We see this year we saw free agents actually come here, and they weren't necessarily the biggest free agents, but they're not nobodies. We didn't pick up another Vinny Hinostroza because there was nothing left on the block.
Yeah.
I think that it just shows that we are becoming more of a destination, and that locker room is actually something special and not just talk.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Eric Johnson come over, and he's a former first overall pick, and he comes off the Avalanche, who won a Stanley Cup, and he could have easily just, took a vet min deal over in Colorado and just rode out to the sunset. But, I think he's good friends with Okposo, and they talked, and he kind of liked what he saw was going on the Sabres. So, I know he's not, like you said, he's not a big ticket guy, but it's kind of nice to see that, the Buffalo reputation is slowly turning over. And like you mentioned, having Craig Anderson stick around as well, that's pretty cool to see that, because we haven't seen that recently within the past couple of years. A lot of guys are leaving Buffalo and saying, see ya. I'm good here. I hated the place. So it's nice to see that some of these guys are sticking around saying, hey, I love the place. It's a great place, not only to grow your family, but the team around there. It's just so positive. There's energy as well.
Yeah, it's certainly a great turnaround from when Ryan O'Reilly infamously lost the love of the game here.
I mean, that guy, I don't even want to say anything about that. The whole team made me lose the love of the game as well. All their attitudes.
I don't blame him for losing the love of the game, but oh my God, that's tough.
To say that out loud is pretty tough. And then to say that around.
Say the quiet part out loud.
The impressionable guys in Reinhart, Eichel, and what is it, Ristolainen too. They all took that to heart, and they really were not loving Buffalo.
But hey, looking at where we were back then, I think our current core is definitely an improvement over Reinhart, Eichel, and Ristolainen. Yeah. I still miss Reinhart sometimes, but I think that we're probably better for it. Reinhart became Kulik and Levi.
Yeah.
Can't really complain there.
Exactly. I actually had a Sabres fan up here come up and talk to me. I don't know how well of a Sabres fan he is. He just goes, imagine Eichel on this team, how much better they would be. And I literally looked at him, and I was like, you do realize, Eichel was part of the problem, his attitude.
Yeah. There was definitely a culture problem here.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, I understand, but I don't understand.
Yeah. I get as a player in a vacuum, he's very good, but I wouldn't want him anywhere near our current locker room.
Exactly.
I just think what they've got going on is better off without him.
Yeah, of course. No, I 100% agree. So, no, I'm glad. I'll take this team over that team with the core of Reinhart, Eichel, and Ristolainen. I mean, Ristolainen, I'm surprised he's still in the league anyway. So,
yeah. I cannot believe what we got for Ristolainen. That was crazy.
And now he plays on the same exact team, but in Philadelphia right now.
It almost makes you think that maybe he was the problem.
I mean, he was what is he playing? 25. He's playing a first line D.
Oh yeah, he definitely wasn't
25
supposed to ever be a
minutes.
first line D.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that's tough.
I remember when we drafted him and who was the Russian guy that we drafted in the first round the same year as well. He plays for Zadorov. I mean, they were supposed to be mainstays for years for this team, and Zadorov was gone within like 2 years, and then Ristolainen kind of just burned out after a couple of years.
Yeah. That's but we're past that. Our drafting and development, it seems like it's going well.
Yeah, I mean, gotta move on from your exes. So see you later. Glad you're gone. Hope you're doing well. We're focused on the future right now. So talking about the future, we got the next couple of games coming up. Want to kind of go over those real quick?
Yeah, I can't believe you were. I was going to use that exact segue. You read my mind. Anyway, so the next couple of games before Wednesday, we have 4 more games, which actually that's a lot because we're doing this late. Before Tuesday, we have 4 more games, which is still a lot. But since we're doing this late, that's 4 games in 6 days. So one of them's actually on the Tuesday. But anyway, I digress. The first game is tomorrow against the Flames. What do you think we should be looking out for there? What do you think you'd like to see in the next game?
I would like just to see a progression from last game. You know, Calgary's been on a long road trip right now. I mean, Calgary right now is in the rebuilding phase of are they rebuilding or are they building? I don't know where they're at. Anyways.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck in a little bit of a limbo right now.
They got rid of the players that matter. Gaudreau's gone and Tkachuk's gone. I know they have...
they brought back Huberdeau, though, in that trade.
Yeah, Huberdeau, which he is a solid player, but you saw how much of a difference Tkachuk made on the Panthers after that. Huberdeau, he's a good player, but I think he's also kind of like he's an injury-prone type of guy. He wasn't really he didn't really take over a game. And I also know they have Mackenzie Weegar, too, who's, he's a solid defenseman. But besides that, I mean, this should be a kind of like an almost the next step. All right, you had a good offensive game against a veteran team that's kind of at the end of the close of the window. Now you have a team that's kind of, I don't know where they're at. They're kind of in purgatory right now in the NHL in the Flames. So it's like, this is the game where it's like, I expect to see a lot more offensive progression. The first line, let's get a lot more shots on the goal. Let's third line, keep on what's going on. Second line, you're hoping Dylan Cousins after that overtime goal maybe has that confidence now that, all right, I'm going to be back to that player that people were expecting me to be. And like I said, I mean, this is another good opportunity too, like you mentioned, is, get the lead, kind of shut down, then go into that shutdown defense mode. Kind of show that, like you mentioned, that we can do this. Maybe, I don't know who's going to be the goaltender for that game. Do you expect to see Levi in that tomorrow?
I have no idea. So for the first game, you run Levi, right? We run Levi against the Rangers. It goes poorly.
Yeah.
And then they run him in the next game. I assume the thinking is like, you don't want to have him take a loss and then be like, all right, get out of here. Like, it didn't go well. We're going to someone else. So I think it was kind of like to try and build confidence thing. You put him in the next game, he loses again. So now you just got to put him in until he wins, because otherwise you're just digging a deeper hole, right? He keeps losing, and then you pull him on a loss, and you're like, well, that sucks. But now he's won a game, so that changes the thinking.
Yeah.
You can't pull him after he won a game. now you just
damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation.
Right. At the start of the season, you don't pull him after the loss because you don't want him to lose confidence right at the beginning of the season. But now that he's won, I think that they might just run him until he loses the next one, and that's when we see the first pull. Or there's back-to-backs this week. He probably just doesn't play those.
Okay.
But I could see him playing again. If not, I'd be super interested to see who they choose as the first backup, because I think that'll be pretty indicative of what we're going to see throughout the year as possibly deal gets made to make it so that we have only 2 goalies and can fit Savoy into a roster.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to try to shop someone. So the guy who they start next is going to be the guy who they're shopping, or it's more of like a tryout phase to say, all right, let's see what we got here, and we're going to get rid of the other one type of situation. Right. So I wonder what their thinking is with goalie, but can't be rolling with 3 after next month. You got to cut that down to 2 soon.
Obviously, as we've all learned, we just gotta trust Don Granato. So whatever he says, whether it be keep 3 goalies or cut one of them, I'll believe him. I will fully believe that that's the best choice for our team, because he seems to get the best out of players, and if he thinks that one's worth keeping around or that both are worth keeping around, I guess I'll just believe him. I've got no reason not to at this point.
There is actually a former player who also hosts a podcast who actually mentioned if the Sabres would have lost that Lightning game, Granato should be on the chopping block. So I'm just saying we're at this point.
After the whistle, guys.
I mean, I don't want to shop off other podcasts, but I'm just saying, yeah.
No. If we're going to get violent against the after the whistle guys, which I mean, like, they probably won't encounter our podcast. They probably don't care, but I love them. They're entertaining.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they are like that their takes are good. Just like full stop. So many times I just like hear them say something. A good example is Benson. I don't know if it was Andrew or Craig, but one of them, even like going into the week, has been calling for us to send back Benson because he's not ready, he's not cooked, he's defensively lost. Like, no. Just no. I don't agree. I wholeheartedly do not agree. Our team is currently our goal differential for our team as a whole is -4. What that means is that we've been scored on 4 more times than we've scored, which, not good. Benson is a +2 right now.
Yep.
His line has 2 goals. You know what that implies to me? His line hasn't let in a goal while he's been on the ice. Greenway's also +2 with 2 points. We don't get scored on when that line is on the ice. How are you going to tell me that Benson is terrible defensively? He looks lost in his own zone. The guy hasn't been on the ice for a goal against yet.
Yeah.
We are a -4 differential. We've been scored on 8 times. That means the other 3 lines have been scored on roughly 2.6 times each. But no, Benson's not ready for it. He's not good enough yet. We need to send him back to the minors. But I digress. Basically, their takes are bad. Like they were close to the team. I get that. They're fun. I enjoy them. They're entertaining. But if I'm looking for actual hockey takes, or actual Sabres takes, they're about as far from it as I think that you can get. I understand being upset if we lost this game. I wouldn't be calling for Granato's head. I think that every game has gotten better. I think that we're seeing a progression where every game is getting better. And if we didn't win that one, I think that we're seeing going into the next game. If we get better again, I see it being pretty hard to lose at that point. If we show improvement like we have from game to game to game, and we continue that into the Flames game, I would be shocked if we lost.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of like that shock jock type of show where
they say loud things and they say aggravating things so that then other people go on and talk about them because they said something that seemed outrageous, and maybe we're falling right for the bait, but
oh, totally. And I definitely wouldn't do that either as a person as well. But
I would never throw out a take that's
no crazy takes at all. Everything's genuine.
Everything you say.
No, but like you mentioned, I think they're just kind of old school. And when I heard that, I mean, the title of the episode, the funny thing was "Relax, It's Been 2 games" or something like that. Yeah. It's just then you hear that take, you're just like, all right. I mean, we'll talk when we're 60, 70 games into the season, but I mean, everyone,
Yeah.
I know the Bills aren't looking good. I mean,
but they're still winning.
They're still winning. I get that, but I mean, don't let that creep into the Sabres. Remember, it's 82 games. I mean, I'm still going to use the excuse it is a young team. They played two of the best teams in the league, and they actually played a veteran team pretty well in the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, everyone, chill out.
Yeah.
Chill. The panic button will be hit probably around February, if anything. But I don't think we'll be hitting any panic buttons this year.
Yeah, and honestly, for like that reason, I'm kind of really glad that we delayed this podcast until after the Lightning game, because now I don't have to go on here and be like, it's all doom and gloom, it's terrible, or like have to defend the opinion against people who are trying to say that it's doom and gloom, and be like, it's actually all fine, guys. You're overreacting, because then we kind of just look like jerks, just telling them to stop. But, yeah. I'm glad that we got the win before we came on here, and that we can be like, look, it started rough, but there's a direction that we're going in. Yeah. And that direction ends with 2 points at the end of the night.
And like I said, there's been progression. And speaking of progression, our second game after Calgary is against our favorite team.
Oh, yeah, the Islanders. I think, for this game, we're now predicting 2 games in the future, so I'm not gonna put any crazy I'll have to see how Calgary goes to really have an opinion on what I'd like to see out of them in the next game. Yeah. But for this specific game, I would just like to see them play hockey that doesn't bore us, because I am so tired of watching Islanders games, and we've only watched one this year.
I mean, it's miserable. It's honestly painful to watch an Islanders game. So, learn to beat the 1-3-1, play offense. I mean, this is the game where you just play your game. If we can force the Islanders to play offense.
Yeah.
Which they
can't.
We can
put them on the back foot, force them to play with pace, and then we really get into our game. I think that would throw them off, and hopefully we would see an entertaining game, because I cannot watch another 1-goal game against the Islanders. Yep. And hopefully in the tradition of, or hopefully we don't see the continued tradition of Islanders games ending with controversial calls by the ref on goals.
Yep. That's true.
That's I think that is the worst way to end a 1-goal game, with a goal that ended with a review. But
I mean, even it stinks too, because you do the review, and like we mentioned, I think that was clearly offsides for all the years that we know hockey. Yeah, right. And then to get a penalty after that, it's just that's crazy.
Yeah, it's all right, well, you don't really worry about the Islanders scoring on the power play, but it's still this is 2 less minutes that we get to score.
So. Yeah, exactly. So, like I mentioned, we can kind of move on from that game, because let's just play offense against that team. That's all that matters.
And then on Monday, the Canadiens.
Yeah.
Again, it's a little bit further in the future, but I would like to see our offense explode in that game. This is the kind of game, they are a young team, similar to us. I think technically we're younger, but that doesn't matter. We're still better. Mm-hmm. They're a young team. They have defense that's questionable. They have goaltending that's questionable. This is the game where I'd really like to see our offense just open up. I want to see us score 7 goals. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. I would be okay with 6 or 5, but you get the point. I want to see it really come together as the offensive machine that we were last year, and I think that this is the perfect game to do it. And I think that would really set the tone for the rest of the year for hey, look, guys, you know how we did offense last year? We can still do that, even though we've been playing a little bit more defensively in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, you meant, this is kind of the get right game. Play against Montreal. Montreal already lost one of their top players, I guess. I don't know if he's considered a top player in NHL, but Kirby Dach's out for the season with a torn ACL. So things aren't really looking too great for that team. So, I mean, this is a game for the Sabres. Maybe this is a game where we see a backup goaltender. I don't know.
That is part of the back-to-back, because then you have a game the next day. So, maybe, we see one of our 2 backups play.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the right team to do it against, just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much offense they're generating. I remember Cole Caulfield had a good season a couple of years ago, but he really hasn't produced since then. So, this is a team that you just kind of take it to it, and like I agree with you. I expect to see 5+ goals at least from this team, from the Sabres against this team.
Yep. And then our last game, which will actually be happening. I'm not going to this game. This is gonna be happening during the podcast. So this will be our kind of premiere of like seeing if it works, whether or not doing the podcast during the game is something that you guys enjoy. And that is against the Ottawa Senators. And what I would like to see from them this game is that they play it like 1 point matters.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that they're looking to get the same exact spot in the playoffs that we are. Play them like 1 point matters. You need to go out of the gate. You need to play incredibly hard. You need to play like you're trying to win a playoff game, because in the end, this is one of the games that we could really see matter, and it's far enough into the season where I will not excuse, there's a little bit of rust on the guys as an excuse. Like, I would refuse to hear that. I would not be happy with anybody coming out of that or like walking onto that ice during that game and looking slow and looking like they just like don't have it that day, because this is one of those teams that we need to beat. We need to be beating.
I mean, Senators fans are already talking trash. I mean, they're already claiming they're at top of the Atlantic Division. They've been. Yeah, I mean, they played 4 games. I mean, they lost their first game against the Hurricanes 5-3, but then they play the Flyers, and then they play the Lightning, and they play the Capitals, and then they're playing the Red Wings their next game on the 21st. So, I mean, they really haven't had much competition besides the Hurricanes. But the other thing too is they've been like you said, they've been talking trash about like the signings by the Sabres, comparing Sanderson to Dahlin. And then I think they've kind of taken it to the heart, because you almost feel like, just from the national media I read The Athletic, TSN and all these other, and like ESPN too, when it comes to hockey. So they kind of have like the Sabres as almost, I wouldn't say a media darling, but like the team, it's like, this is the team that's going to take the next step. This is the future of the NHL type of team. We're going to see them grow somewhere. And Ottawa hasn't been kind of talked in that way. They're kind of like that tier below, and they've kind of taken it to heart. And then they're on Sabres fans' throat every step of the way. And Sabres fans are kind of like, hey guys, like, we've been in a 12-year drought, like, chill out, like, let us enjoy this for a little bit.
We're just trying to be happy.
Yeah, I mean, we're Buffalo, like, we just want the best for this team right now. So, I mean, I think we're taking it I think it's more of a one-sided rivalry between the fans, but like you said, between the teams, this should be play this game like this is going to get you into the playoffs type of position. Like, you got to play for those 2 points. Like, these 2 points are going to matter at the end of the season, especially against the Senators. So I completely agree with your analyst on that. So I don't really have nothing much to say after that. You've kind of taken the words out of my mouth.
So the next time we see you, there will be that Senators game going on, and we can talk about that. And hopefully, by the time that our show starts, we're already doing well.
Yeah.
Other than that, just make sure you guys like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted for when that starts. And we will see you next week, hopefully.
See you next one, guys.